Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into a Pilsner from a German brewer, and I've never had any beer by them before. And this is another beer that I got from Craft Shack. They have a massive selection on there, constantly rotating. Again, I am going to be putting out a video that compares and contrasts Tavour to Craft Shack, two of the big players in the beer to your door delivery space. For today, we're jumping into this specific Pilsner. It's called Flensburger. It's from the brewery Flensburger Brauerei, the German word for brewery. It is a Pilsner. This specific one is just called Pilsner. 4.8% ABV on this one, and it is brewed in Flensburg, Germany. So, label art on this one. It's got a ship sailing on the ocean, a very nice clean design. It's a small, very typical for European market, 11.2 ounce beer. And this one has a nice kind of ceramic cork in there. So let's just get this pulled. This little cork pull gives a nice little pop. We're going to get this poured right into our nice Pilsner glass. Pouring, it is that classic straw pale yellow Pilsner color, forming a nice head here. No problem at all forming a head. I'm going to slow it down just a bit. We should be able to get this whole beer in this Pilsner glass, no problem. 11.2 ounce. These small European standard bottle sizes never have a problem fitting into our glassware. So we'll just cork that back. Visually, yeah, it's kind of actually a little bit more golden hue than I thought on initial pour, but it is a nice light true golden color, very classic Pils, very fast moving, very tiny champagne-like effervescence rushing up, which of course helped to impart this nice rich creamy head on top. Let's get over this for a full sniff. Yeah, that smells like a classic German Pils right away. So there is a honey sweetness on the nose, kind of aromas of cut grass mixed with it. Little bit of a doughy aroma as well, so it's kind of doughy and kind of fresh mowed grass and honey. That's the big aromas I'm getting off of this. This is very typical for a German or even a Czech style Pilsner. It doesn't smell super hoppy on the nose. You can sometimes get that on European Pils, but it definitely has that classic underlying honey sweetness, some fresh mowed grass as well, and this kind of dough aroma. So I'm expecting that it's probably going to be brewed with classic traditional German noble hops. Not going to be super bitter. Might have a little bit of a bite, but it's not going to be over the top. I'm expecting this to be very nice, crisp, and refreshing. It smells fantastic. It looks like a classic German Pils. Head is still holding true. So let's just jump right in for our first sip. Oh yeah, that's a really nice Pilsner. Classic German Pils. I gotta say, before I jump into the body and the mouthfeel, dig into the flavor profile, it definitely has a lot more bite to it than I expected. Given that I didn't get a ton of information on the hop bill out of the aroma, in the flavor profile, it's quite there, and it's actually, even compared to my absolute kind of standard favorite German Pils, Bitburger, this has an even more pronounced bite to it. There's a nice kick of bitters, and very much clearly a classic German nibble hop bill, but I think that they used a bit more heavy hand with the hops. There's a nice bit of bitters in this. It's very nice and refreshing. So the first thing, the body and the mouthfeel, classic German Pils. It's a lighter beer, 4.8%. The body is not super heavy at all. I would say it's light to medium light. Classic for the style, classic for the ABV range. For the mouthfeel, this is also classic Pils. It doesn't feel super thick at all, but when you agitate around the palate, it does get very creamy, very silky. Classic German Pils at its heart. That's exactly what I would expect. So in terms of how the nose kind of clues you into what you might get into the flavor profile, there's a lot that it does impart, but it doesn't really give you a sense of the hop bitters. That's the big thing that I immediately got up front, like, wow, this is a really big kick of bitters for a classic German Pils. And it's quite pronounced. I would guess if I had to put IBU numbers on this, easily 40, maybe even 40 to 50. It's got a much more pronounced hop bittering profile to it than certainly your average German or Czech Pils. In fact, definitely more than my favorite German Pils, Bitburger, though we may have a new contender for my favorite German Pils here. This is very, very well done. So that kind of honey sweetness that you get on the aroma also does translate into the glass. It makes its presence known. The first thing you do get is the hop bittering, then immediately behind it, that classic honey flavor. And the doughiness that you get on the nose, it doesn't taste doughy, but it does taste very much like fresh baked bread. There's very much a grain-like quality to this beer and this malt bill. It's very, very nice. So I don't know the exact hop bill that they used or the exact grains, but it's very, very nice. And this was proudly displayed on the back of the bottle, brewed under the auspices of the Deutsches Reinheitsgebot, the German beer purity law, the oldest continuously existing law in the world. So the only ingredients they can use are water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. Nothing else. So it is brewed in the classic German style, and it's absolutely fantastic. So we're going to jump back in for a second sip, let everything re-intensify, make sure we didn't miss anything in the flavor profile, then we're going to talk about the balance and the finish. But on first sip, absolutely great Pilsner. Take two. Yeah, take two yet again. I'm immediately struck by the big kick of earthy bitters that you get in the hop profile. A little bit of an herbaceous note, but mostly just kind of earthy. It's got that kind of intensity that you get from earthy kind of bitter profiles. And it's definitely higher on the IBUs than your average German Pilsner would be. Immediately behind that, you do get that honey sweetness, and then it also immediately opens up into this very grain-like, bread-like, cereal granola-like malt bill characteristics. So you're getting those as kind of the main character traits. Earthy bitters, honey sweetness, and this grainy granola-like quality from the malt bill. It's classic Pils, though if we're talking about the finish on this one, I gotta say, for a 4.8% ABV German Pils, it's got a much longer finish than your average. And it's really coming down to the intensity of the hop bitters that are coming through in this beer. The other thing that's very notable on this one, typically on a Pilsner, you're going to get a little bit of a dryness on the palate. At some point, a little bit of crispness, a little kind of cut in it. This does not dry out the palate at all. It's actually very wet the whole time that you're sipping on it, and many, many, many seconds after the end of each sip, you've still got these lingering bitters on the back. So even in excess of a minute, which is quite rare for a classic German Pils, there's really quite pronounced, intense, earthy bitters that are still lingering all over the palate, and it still feels very wet. There's no dryness at all. So a bit of a deviation, but for my money, it's nice. It's nicer for it. I like that I get a bit more mileage out of each sip on this beer, and this is just extremely well done. The balance on this, we're obviously talking balance between the malt bill and the hops on a classic German Pils, and I think they nailed it. The hops are very prevalent, very clear, as is the malt bill. And we're talking both in terms of aroma and the flavor profile. I gotta say, this is an extremely well done German Pilsner, and I think it may have just dethroned Bitburger as my current favorite German Pils. I will definitely be seeing if I can find more of these, but for now, I'm gonna take my time, sip on this one, come up with my scores, and when we come back, we will get this beer ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're gonna get it ranked. This was Flensburger's Pilsner, a Pilsner, obviously 4.8% ABV on this one, brewed in Flensburg, Germany. So this was just a fantastic Pilsner. I love a good Pilsner, be it German, Czech, American craft. I don't care where it comes from. A good Pilsner is always something fantastic to behold. It's just the simplicity of it, the crispness of it. There's something about a Pilsner that's just hard to beat, which is indeed why it is the most imitated beer style in the world by a vast margin. And this is a truly exceptional one. Going through the scores, very easy. It got a perfect 10 out of 10 in all categories. Not anything that could possibly be taken away from this in points. A very, very well earned perfect 100. In fact, if I'm thinking on it, I think maybe the last perfect score beer that I did might have also been a Pilsner. So yeah, a lot of great Pilsners. I'm sure this is one that I would be picking up again. I've never even seen it at Total Wine, but Craft Shack had it, and what a fantastic beer. I really reflected on this long and hard, and I do believe that I have now found my new favorite German Pils, and that's Flensburger. Bitburger is always going to be great, but this, I think, just got the edge out. And really for me, the difference on this was just that big intensity of hop bite up front, but it was still perfectly balanced. Ton of that classic honey sweetness, nice doughy aromas, very cereal, grainy flavor profile. It's just that extra bite that you got up front from the bitters really sealed the deal for me and really helped with the finish on this one. Absolutely fantastic, guys. If you're a fan of Pilsners and maybe you don't normally go for them, maybe you're an IPA guy, but you do like a nice crisp beer, but you prefer something a little hoppier, a bit bolder, a bit more bitter forward, this might be the Pilsner for you. I got mine at Craft Shack. Take a peek, see if they still have some. I do highly recommend this beer. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit that bell icon. It is right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.